Lucy grew up in a crowded city on the East Coast of the United States. She was the type of person who loved exploring, often jotting down eerie folk tales to use as material for her thesis on urban legends in American culture. Her personality was a mix of intellectual curiosity and a vague fear of things that couldn't be explained by reason. Jake, Lucy's boyfriend, was the complete opposite. Born and raised in a small Midwestern town, he looked strong and athletic, always appearing calm in any situation. But Lucy knew that deep inside, Jake hated uncertainty. He was never comfortable facing things beyond his control. One day, Lucy decided to accompany Jake back to his family's old wooden cabin, isolated on the edge of town, a place where Jake had lived as a child. For Lucy, the trip was a chance to dig deeper into local legends that she could include in her thesis. For Jake, it was just a quiet weekend away from the noise of the city. What Jake didn't realize was that in this very old house, locals still whispered about a creature that had spread terror for decades. And Lucy, driven by her curiosity, would unknowingly awaken a story that everyone else wanted to forget. The sky grew dark as Lucy and Jake arrived. The cabin sat in the middle of a clearing, surrounded by thick woods. The wind howled, branches scraping against the glass like claws. Inside, the house looked ancient. The wooden floor creaked, and the walls were lined with black and white photos of Jake's ancestors. Lucy shivered when she noticed the stern faces, their eyes seeming to follow her every step. Jake just laughed it off, saying it was her imagination. That evening, as they prepared a simple meal, a storm rolled in. Thunder cracked, and the power went out. Darkness swallowed the room, leaving only the flickering glow of an oil lamp Jake found in the pantry. In the eerie silence between the rain and wind, Lucy began to hear a faint call from the forest outside. The sound repeated, weak but unmistakably human. Jake frowned. "There can't be anyone out there at this hour," Lucy whispered, her voice trembling. "It sounds like a woman. I think she's calling your name." Goosebumps prickled Jake's skin. He had never told Lucy that as a child, on stormy nights like this, he too had heard strange voices from the woods, and it had always been the voices of people he knew. Bow. The call, faint at first, grew clearer. Lucy held her breath, straining to listen. "Jake! Jake!" The voice was shrill and weak, like a lost woman crying out in the dark. Lucy gripped Jake's hand, her eyes wide with fear. "You hear that, don't you? Someone needs help." Jake shivered. He recognized that voice. It was his mother's, the very woman who had died years ago in an accident on the road near these woods. He froze. His heart pounded, his mind screaming it was impossible, yet memories and fear clawed their way back. Then Lucy noticed muddy footprints outside the window. At first, just a few scattered marks, but soon they multiplied, forming a circle around the house. The wind slammed the window, and in a flash of lightning, Lucy glimpsed a tall, twisted shadow standing in the yard. Its shape was distorted, not quite human, not quite beast. Its eyes glowed like a predator's, but its face almost resembled a human's, an unfinished imitation. Then came the knocking. 3 slow, deliberate raps. Knock, knock, knock. The entire house seemed to hold its breath. Jake's face drained of color as he whispered to Lucy, "God, it's here." The door rattled violently, as though about to burst off its hinges. Lucy stumbled back, clutching the oil lamp. Jake stood his ground, eyes locked on the door. Suddenly, an old, raspy voice came from outside the side wall. "Don't open the door. Never answer it." Both froze, spinning toward the window. In the dim lamplight, they saw a frail, white-haired man drenched in rain, leaning on a cane. His eyes gleamed unnaturally in the dark. Jake recognized him immediately. Old Harris, the oldest neighbor in the area, who lived alone in a shack miles away. Locals often whispered he knew strange things no one dared to speak aloud. Lucy quickly unlatched the back door, letting him in. The old man brought with him the smell of damp earth and cold rain. Placing a trembling hand on Jake's shoulder, his expression grave, he said, "That thing out there, it isn't human. It's been wandering these woods for generations. They call it the Skinwalker. It mimics the voices of your loved ones to lure you outside." Lucy's stomach turned cold as she recalled the voice calling Jake's name. Jake clenched his fists so tight, his nails dug into his palms. Harris leaned closer, his hoarse whisper almost a hiss. "It knocks 3 times. If you answer or step outside, you'll never come back." Just as he finished, the second knock thundered against the door, heavier, more violent, like a monstrous hand trying to rip it apart. Knock, knock, knock. The house shook. The storm roared louder. Shadows danced on the walls. Then, a voice floated in from the porch. "Jake, it's me. Let me in, Jake." Lucy froze. It was her voice. Perfectly copied, but hollow wrong, as though spilling from a mouth not meant for human speech. Jake's eyes went wide, sweat dripping down his face. He turned to Lucy beside him, pale and terrified. No, you're right here. But that's your voice." The call grew more desperate. "Jake, don't you see me? I'm so cold. Please, open the door." Harris gripped his cane, growling. "Don't listen. That's how it tricks you. Open that door and you give it your soul." But Jake's mind was clouded. The voice pulled at him like a hook, dragging him forward. His steps creaked on the floorboards. Slow, heavy, inevitable. Lucy sobbed, clinging to his arm. "Jake, look at me. I'm here. Don't listen to it." A lightning flash illuminated the window. For a split second, Lucy saw the hulking shadow outside. It leaned close to the door, its mouth grotesquely stretched, and in her own voice it whispered, "Jake, you love me, don't you? Let me in." The third knock came, louder than ever, shaking the frame. Knock, knock, knock. Jake's trembling hand touched the latch. The door creaked open just a crack. A rancid stench of blood poured in. Through the gap, a single yellow eye gleamed, unblinking, predator-like. Then a long, withered hand with gray, leathery skin and unnaturally long fingers reached inside, joints cracking as it clawed toward them. Lucy screamed, yanking Jake back. Harris struck the hand with his cane. The limb jerked, retreating, but before vanishing, a patch of its skin tore away, revealing raw, red muscle beneath. A guttural laugh rose from outside. half human, half animal, echoing with many voices at once. "You won't escape." The cabin shuddered as the creature rammed the door again. Splinters rained onto the floor. Lucy knew it wouldn't hold for long. Harris shouted, "The cellar! Quickly before it breaks through!" He dragged them to a trapdoor in the kitchen floor, hidden beneath a rug. Dust flew as he yanked it open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. "Down now!" Lucy and Jake stumbled into the cellar. Harris slammed the hatch shut, just as the front door above shattered with a deafening crash. In the cellar's dim glow, shelves lined with jars and strange charms loomed in the shadows. Symbols scrawled in black ash covered the walls. "This is the only place it cannot enter," Harris rasped. "The wards keep it out." Above them, heavy footsteps thudded across the floor. Then the voice returned, directly overhead. "Lucy, Jake, I know you're down there." The tone shifted, Lucy's voice, then Jake's mother's, then the cries of a child. Lucy buried her face in Jake's chest, trembling. Harris whispered, "It doesn't just want your lives. It wants your faces, your memories, your souls. Once it takes them, no one will know you ever existed." The footsteps stopped. Silence pressed down. Then, a distorted face peered through the crack of the cellar door, its yellow eye gleaming. The pounding resumed, shaking the hatch so violently dust showered onto them. Harris pressed his hand to the symbols, muttering incantations. The knocks slowed, then ceased. Relief washed over them, until a chilling voice spoke, not from above, but from the darkness behind them in the cellar. "Did you really think you could hide from me?" The oil lamp sputtered and died. The cellar drowned in black. Lucy screamed, clawing for Jake. Harris swung his cane wildly. Two glowing eyes opened in the dark. They drew closer. And then, silence. At dawn, the cabin was empty. No trace of Lucy, Jake, or Harris remained. Only muddy, bloody handprints smeared across the cellar door, proof they had once been there. The townsfolk gained another story to whisper on stormy nights, that the skinwalker had claimed 3 more souls. And somewhere in the woods, familiar voices still echoed, calling, waiting for the next victim. One day. The night in the American city was always ablaze with neon lights, yet beneath the rusted bridges and in the abandoned subway stations, the darkness was thicker than anywhere else. There, a homeless man drifted through life, without a name, without anyone left to remember him. He crouched beside a half-burned trash can, wrapping himself in a torn coat that someone had discarded long ago. Every day he wandered the streets, rummaging through dumpsters, collecting plastic bottles to sell for a few coins. Passers-by walked past, without so much as a glance. To them, he was nothing more than a meaningless shadow amid the bustling city. Some nights, he asked himself when exactly he had vanished from this world. No family, no friends, no place to return to. The man existed only as a walking corpse, surviving on scraps left behind from other people's feasts. The winter cold pierced through his ragged coat, freezing his flesh. He pulled himself deeper into the shadows beneath the bridge, listening to the sound of cars above like some alien melody. In this city, millions of lights blazed in the sky, but not a single one shone down on him. In rare moments between hunger and cold, he wondered, if I truly disappeared, would anyone even notice? One foggy morning, the homeless man wandered down an alley behind the tall buildings. His stomach growled with hunger as he bent over a restaurant's dumpster, recently closed for the night. As his trembling fingers fumbled through crumpled plastic bags, he accidentally pulled out a rain-soaked, wrinkled sheet of paper. It was a flyer. White background, bold black letters. Volunteers wanted for medical experiments. High pay. Guaranteed safety. Apply at X Biotech Center. At the bottom, a phone number and address were clearly printed. The man clenched the flyer tightly in his hand. How long had it been since he last touched real money? The thought of enough pay to survive the winter made his heart race. No one cared about a homeless man like him, so why should he be afraid? That afternoon, he went to the address on the flyer. In the middle of an upscale district, the X Biotech Center rose like a cold glass monolith, towering high, reflecting the harsh sunlight. Inside, the hallways were long and sterile white. People in white lab coats passed by without a glance, as if he were nothing but a misplaced shadow in their world. A bespectacled employee, with a blank expression, handed him a thick stack of registration forms. He didn't understand the dense medical jargon written inside. His eyes only caught the bold, capitalized line. Sign consent form. Compensation. $10,000. $10,000. The number glowed like a promise of salvation. Without another thought, he picked up the pen with trembling hands and signed his name. He didn't realize that his signature was, in truth, a one-way ticket into the abyss. Whaley. The day of the experiment arrived. The man was led into a sterile white room, vast as a hospital ward, yet terrifyingly pristine. Cameras lined the walls. Ventilation systems hummed in the background. He wasn't alone. Several other weary faces, homeless, unemployed, sat huddled on cold stainless steel beds. They exchanged anxious glances, like rats trapped inside a cage. A team of doctors in white coats entered. Their faces were hidden behind masks, their eyes cold behind protective goggles. Without a word, they began injecting each subject with a thick, dark, greenish-black fluid. As the needle pierced his skin, the man felt his body ignite from within. His heart pounded erratically. His head spun. His entire body convulsed violently. Screams echoed through the room as the others writhed in agony. A burly man collapsed to the floor, eyes rolling back, foam spilling from his mouth. A woman shrieked until her voice broke, then fell silent. One by one, the bodies crumpled and lay still. The homeless man felt his heart suddenly stop beating. His vision went black. His breath faltered. The last sounds he heard were the frantic scratching of a pen on a clipboard and the cold snap of latex gloves tearing open a medical kit. Finally, his body went limp, sinking into absolute darkness. A doctor nodded, making a note. Subject No, 27, deceased. A white sheet was draped over his body. His corpse was wheeled away, down into the morgue in the basement. The man was dead. Or at least, that's what they all believed. Now, as you know, yeah. In the frigid morgue, Rows of steel drawers stacked one upon another, fluorescent lights casting a pale glow on the white tiled floor. The air was thick with the stench of formalin and rusted metal. The screech of metal wheels echoed as an attendant slid his body into one of the drawers and slammed the heavy steel door shut. Inside, there was nothing but absolute darkness, and the freezing chill seeping deep into his flesh. But then, in the middle of the blackness, his eyelids fluttered. A strange warmth surged through his veins. His heart, supposedly stilled, suddenly clenched violently, then began to beat again. A ragged breath burst out, cold vapor spilling into the cramped air. He opened his eyes. His body ached, as if it had been crushed. He tried to move, thrashing against the steel walls around him. In desperation, he slammed his hand forward, and it passed straight through the metal, as though it were smoke. Terrified, he jerked back, heart pounding, then tremblingly reached again. This time his entire body slid through the door, emerging on the other side like a ghost. The man collapsed on the tile floor, drenched in sweat. He stared at his trembling hands, feeling each cell shifting, mutating. Staggering forward, he brushed against a cold brick wall and phased right through it into the next room. His mouth fell open in shock, yet a strange thrill coursed through him. For a fleeting moment, he was no longer the invisible shadow abandoned by society. He was something else. Something mankind had accidentally created. But his body quickly weakened. His joints ached. His vision blurred. He realized the power wasn't permanent. It was like a raging fever, flaring briefly before burning out. Panting in the icy silence, he understood one thing. Death hadn't freed him. It had only begun, a terrifying curse. Ah! He had barely staggered out of the morgue when alarms erupted throughout the building. Red lights flashed, sirens wailed, echoing like calls from hell. On the control room monitors, security staff froze in disbelief as subject number 27 walked the halls. He had been recorded as deceased. A cold voice crackled through the intercom. Emergency. Subject reactivated. Lock down the entire facility. Instantly, heavy footsteps thundered down the corridors. The man, panicked, bolted forward, instinct urging him to hurl himself at a steel wall. In a blink, his body slipped through the thick metal, vanishing to the other side. He gasped for air, heart hammering. The bizarre power let him escape again and again, but it seared his body, drenched him in sweat. Each passage through solid matter drained him, as though the drug was gnawing at his very life. Security teams in black protective gear stormed the halls with stun rifles. Their shouts thundered. Do not let him escape. The subject is too dangerous. The man dashed through brightly lit laboratories. His eyes caught sight of glass chambers filled with twisted corpses, flesh melted, tumors sprouting in grotesque clusters. His stomach turned. He realized he was just one rat among countless failed experiments. Each escape ended the same. Recaptured, strapped to a steel bed, injected with new doses. They scribbled notes, analyzed, experimented, then watched him die, only for him to awaken in agony. He had become the nightmare of the center's own making. A ghost that refused to stay dead, wandering between steel walls. Ooh. The chases, the captures, the injections, the deaths, the resurrections, repeated endlessly like a nightmare with no escape. His body grew frailer, yet his ability to slip through walls sharpened, as though pain and the drug itself were forging him into something new. One night, during a botched experiment, the center was careless. The restraints hadn't been secured. He gathered every ounce of strength and broke free. The corridor stretched ahead, alarms blaring. But this time, he wasn't running in despair. He was running as if he knew it was the last time. He hurled himself through wall after wall, skin burning, blood spilling from his mouth. Stun shots cracked behind him, but only grazed his blurred silhouette before he vanished through a thick concrete barrier. The final door burst open. The night wind rushed in, icy and sharp. Under the pale glow of streetlights, his figure flickered, then disappeared entirely into the darkness. From that night on, no one ever saw him again. The ex-biotech center buried the incident, filing it away as Subject No. 27, missing. But whispers spread. Some claimed that in the old streets, they had seen a gaunt figure drift through brick walls, only to vanish without a trace. Dene. This story, he was the one who told it. One rainy night, in the corner of a cheap diner on the city's edge, you sat beside an old homeless man. His eyes were cloudy, his voice raspy, but each word spilled like it came from the depths of the abyss. I died, I came back, and I am no longer human. He spoke of the flyer, the injections, the endless escapes, and the horrific toll his body had paid. You shivered but dared not interrupt. At the end, he looked straight into your eyes, lips curling in a pale smile. I am Subject No. 27, and I am still here, at least for now. You blinked. When you turned back, the seat beside you was empty. Only a crumpled, rain-soaked flyer remained, its words smeared and fading. Volunteers wanted for medical experiments, high pay, guaranteed safety. In that moment, you understood. The man had never truly disappeared. He was still drifting between the walls of this world, forever an invisible phantom. Nay.